Shalom. It's Advent, the first week of Advent. And in the spirit of the first week of Advent, today we're going to be thinking about hope. So let's hop to it. From one disciple of Jesus to another. Hey, the past few weeks we've been in Genesis, or at least starting in Genesis. And so this week I want to do the same. And for the sake of time, trying to get this within a 10-minute time frame, instead of telling you where I'm going to go with this, I'm just going to try to take us there. Right? So in Genesis chapter 1, we read a familiar text. Verse 26, Then God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. And God blessed them. And God said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. So where I'd like to draw your attention to is when God created man and woman in his image, he then gives them a command. He gives them an order and says, Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. So remember, there is the earth, and before, in Genesis 1, this earth, this world was tohu vavohu, right? It was formless and void, and there was hoshek, there was darkness over the surface of the waters. And the Spirit of God moved in, created light through his words, and then continued to create life and order simply by speaking it. He defeated this chaos simply by speaking. And then he creates a garden that is perfect in ways that outside the garden, we get the impression that it is not. Right? There is definitely this paradise that God has put his created humans in, and then says, fill the earth outside of paradise and subdue it. So there was things outside of this paradise that was to be brought under the rule, under the dominion of humanity in the name of their creator, God. They were created in his image, and they are to rule in his name. They are to subdue creation in his name. And then we find out, as we continue to read, as we discussed last week, man sinned, and through sin reverted back into, or began this reversion back into darkness and chaos, and that we walk in darkness. And that it is because we are living in darkness that God once more, in Jesus, steps into our dark land and brings light to us once more and permanently. Right, and that's what we read in John chapter 1. So we'll go to John 1, and again, just to remind us, John chapter 1 says, In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God, and all things were made through him, Genesis 1, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And this is our word, or our phrase for today. We're going to talk about a phrase instead of Hebrew. We're going to move to Greek and be thinking about this phrase that has to do with light. And I'll introduce that to you as we go to the next passage in John chapter 8. Jesus reaffirms what John here says about him, and Jesus uses his own phrase. He says in John 8, I am the light of the world. And that's what I'd like to take just a second, and let's draw our phrase out and think about that in terms of Advent hope today. Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Our phrase is tophos to κόσμου. So Jesus had some I am statements that he said through the Gospels. I am the way, the truth, and the life are the most well-known, most likely. And the article, the definite article, I am the way, right? I am the truth. I am the life. And it's exclusive. Being the way means there is no other way. Being the truth and the life means there is no other outside of him. There is no other truth. There is no other life. And here he says, I am the light of the world. So, to phos to κόσμου. That'd be our phrase. Phos to κόσμου is actually what I want to, or we could say the to phos to κόσμου, the light of the world. And he prefaces this with ego eimi, I am. So, Christ here says, the light that is into the world, the light that has come into the world, the life of men, the only source is me, ego eimi. I am the light of the world. But then in Matthew, we have recorded where he says another interesting statement. And it's another statement that is our phrase that we're taking here, to phos to κόσμου. Except Jesus, speaking to his followers, to his disciples, he says, you are to phos to κόσμου. Exact same phrase, the light of the world. You are the light of the world. But in John, he says, I am the light of the world. And here we start to see what happened, the order that was given in Genesis chapter 1. He made man in his image and then gave man the ordination, gave man the command to go, be fruitful, multiply, and subdue the earth, to rule in his name, right? To be agents of order as we continue to bring things that are chaotic, things that are out of order, into order. We are to imitate our Creator. We are to image our Creator in that way. And here, the light of the world, in turn, tells his followers, I am the light of the world, but you are to phos to κόσμου. You are the light of the world. And you may be wondering, what does this have to do with hope exactly? And this verse, this passage that we're about to turn to in Ephesians, seemed to tie it together for me in a way that just, it made it click, right? The light of the world that Christ is, and the light of the world that we are as his followers, is described by Paul here in Ephesians chapter 5. Let me see if I can find verse 14. Verse 13 and 14. Paul says, but when anything, right here, but when anything is exposed by the light, it becomes visible. Okay, that's pretty much no nonsense. It's easy to understand that, right? Anything that is exposed by light, anything you shine a flashlight on, it becomes visible. Well, thanks for making that clear, Paul. And then in verse 14, for anything that becomes visible is light. And this is the change. See, when the light shines upon the heart of a human, when the light shines upon the heart of an unregenerate person and regenerates that heart, where that heart of stone becomes a heart of flesh, where that person that is dead in sin is made alive because the light of the gospel has shone into his or her heart, that person is part of that. For anything that becomes visible is light. So you can take the logic. Anything that's exposed by the light becomes visible, and anything that becomes visible is light. So if you remove the middle of the becomes visible, we understand anything that is exposed by the light is light. That's why John tells us in the book of 1 John that if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship, right? If we say that we love him, but we do not the truth, that we do not walk in the light, then we lie, because we become the light that has shined into us. Therefore, the light that we have in our hearts is the light that we shine. We image our Creator. And in this case, as far as belief and faith are concerned, he is, in essence, in a way, our recreator. If any man be in Christ, he is a new creature, right? So not only did he create us, he has recreated us and given us new life and rebirth. And the hope that I think that this tells us is, a lot of times at Christmas we can think about Jesus coming into the world bringing me hope, right? Or as you as the individual And we should be grateful for the hope that Jesus is to us, that he is our hope. But the other side of that coin that Jesus reminds us here is, yes, I am the light of the world, but you, as my follower, as a follower of the way, or they were first called Christians at Antioch, little Christs, as a Christian, you are the light of the world. I have sent you out into the world. And lo, I am with you. My spirit is with you. My spirit will work through your words. I will work alongside you, with you, and through you. But you are the light of the world. So we are hope. Every believer on this earth is hope for an unbeliever because we have the light within us. We have Christ, the light of the world, within us, and he has sent us out in a way that says, go forth, be fruitful, multiply, subdue the earth. We are to spread that kingdom. We are to spread that hope. And at Christmas time, when we think about the hope that has come to us, it should also cause us to think about the hope that we have, that we long to give to others, that we spread good tidings of great joy. And think about, as we give gifts to others, as we do acts of kindness for others. My little girl in her elementary school, they have an effort, right? And it's centered around the Grinch's heart, because the Grinch's heart is way too small. And so their focus this month is to do acts of kindness. And as those acts of kindness are done, it directly affects the heart of the Grinch and causes his heart to grow. This is the time of year where we think about intentionally doing humane, kind, compassionate things for our neighbor, for our fellow human, someone that we would just pass by normally on the street and not give a second thought to. The spirit, as they say, of Christmas makes us think more. The music puts us in these joyous moods. But more than that, more than in just this time of year, it should be, we have the light of life within us. And for the first week of Advent, as we think about hope, let's also think about, how are we sharing that hope with those who have no hope, those who don't know Christ, those for whom the nativity is something they pass by and they see in the front of the churchyard as they on their way to Walmart this time of year, or they see lit up as they drive through a neighborhood, but it's nothing more than maybe the story that is told this time of year. Spread the love of Jesus, spread the gospel. Let them know there is hope, because we have that hope. So let it bleed out. Jesus is the light of the world, and the light of the world has looked at you and me, those he has chosen and called out of darkness, and he turns and says, you are the light of the world. And I have chosen to let you work alongside me, to let you build the kingdom with me as I work through you. So in gratitude, may it humble us that he's done so, and may it compel us to continue to work and spread that hope. God bless you.